Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Show Me the Money presentation. I am Chad Erickson. I'm the Vice President of Strategy at MyAdvice, and I'm going to introduce our guest, Norm Westervelt, in just a moment. For those of you who have not attended one of our webinars before, welcome. We're excited to have you. Today is a unique opportunity, and you're going to love what we have because we see each and every one of you similar to us as you're small business owners, and you have a lot on your plates and a lot to worry about. And today you're going to learn a lot about how to really set yourself up for success as an owner, how to become better at what you're doing. For those of you, again, attending for the first time, our GoToWebinar panel is an area where you can ask questions. And today, unlike some other days where we normally hold all the questions until the end, we're going to have a very conversational sort of flow to what we're doing today. I'm going to be interviewing Norm, and so throughout the presentation today, if you have any questions, I'll moderate those. So go ahead and within your panel, you can ask those questions either in the chat section or there is a separate section just for questions. Go ahead and put those in there, and I'll get to you as quickly as we can so that Norm can answer those for you. The presentation today is being recorded, so if you missed it or if you want to go back and listen to it and watch it again, you'll be able to do that. Or if you want to share it with somebody else in your business, you'll be able to do that as well. But let me begin now by introducing our guest today. Norm Westervelt is the chairman and CFO of Wealth Factory, and Norm has over 35 years of business experience, including his role as a CFO at a $100 million company during his 20s, then growing and eventually selling his own manufacturing company. He first joined Wealth Factory as a business consultant, but he actually fell in love with the company and stayed on to become their CFO, then their COO, and finally their CEO. And Norm has experience in higher education, publishing, manufacturing, contraction development, and personal finance education. Norm has been highly involved in strategic finance and operations in all his roles, helping his companies grow and sustain themselves over the long term. Norm is really passionate about helping entrepreneurs succeed as they find their way to becoming independent business owners. Norm, that's kind of a great bio, but want to hear from you. So tell us a little bit more about you and your background, what motivates you, and your vision for helping these others, and why it's so important that we talk about these principles today.
Yeah, and Chad, thank you so much, and I want to express my gratitude to you and all the listeners for attending today. You know, as a small business owner and an entrepreneur myself, you know, the journey is just so much more enjoyable when you're working with people that you enjoy working with, that you trust, that you can grow together. And Chad, you and MyAdvice represent, you know, the ideal, you know, partner that we have in business. So thank you so much for having me today, and you know, being a part of our lives. My message is it's very simple, and it's very, very important to anybody out there that is a entrepreneur, whether you're starting, you know, just have been started for, you know, just a few months or several years. These are pieces that are very, very important, and because they're important to me, I've lived every single one of them. That's one of the reasons, as Chad mentioned, that I fell in love with this company and got involved in the ownership in it, because I have learned throughout my career as a entrepreneur that I can spend way more time than I ever intended or ever wanted spinning my wheels, not making progress, and not understanding how possibly exposed I was. So what motivates me is, what's very, very important to me is lifestyle, my family, and experiencing as much financial security as I possibly can. So is I work on my businesses. There is not opportunity in the corporate world like there is for all of us as entrepreneurs. You know, when we talk about lifestyle, it can go to one extreme or the other. Either the business you own can completely consume you, or you can design that business to free you. And that's the journey that I'm on right now. You know, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take a lifetime of experience where I have bought and sold several businesses over time. You know, and as Chad mentioned, yes, you know, for a time period, I did the big corporate work type of thing. My undergraduate degree is accounting. My MBA has a concentration in corporate finance, and I enjoyed working for a larger company. I just didn't enjoy being told what to do. And so I figured, well, if I'm a fairly bossy person, I might as well just boss myself around. And and all the effort and energy that I was putting in the corporate world, I started putting that into my own businesses, and one rolled up after another, after another, after another, and then that led me to where I'm at today as a part owner and chief executive officer of Wealth Factory. And all the pieces that we'll talk about today, and we won't even get to all of them because there's a lot. All the pieces that have come together for me over the years, I'll be sharing on this today. But it's very, very important, because as we go through our talk today, I want you to have 5 things in mind. And these are the 5 legs of the stool that we represent here at Wealth Factory: cash flow, taxes, insurance, investing, and estate planning. As I talk with entrepreneurs, their businesses are in many, many different stages. But if you've got those 5 areas completely nailed down in your personal life: cash flow, taxes, insurance, investing, and estate planning, you can create a great foundation and be virtually bulletproof as it relates to your business. So as I talk with entrepreneurs, a big thing that I share with them is you've spent 20 or 30 years building your business, and you're very successful, but all the effort and energy that you put into your businesses, you probably, I can almost guarantee you haven't put into your personal life, because we've all been busy. That's what we do every single day, is we're busy growing our businesses. But I caution them that any one of those 5 areas I've talked about can undo 30 or 40 years worth of work overnight if you don't have those buttoned up and you don't have those completely taken care of. So that's my mission. That's what I'm passionate about, and that's what I'm just so blessed with, as I work with entrepreneurs with the objective of creating financial independence for them.
That's awesome, Norm, and I'm taking copious notes myself. I'm actually learning a lot from you, and as a business owner, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about expectations today, and why it's important to understand really what's happening in our economy, and why, as these business owners, they need to pay, why it's so important that they pay attention to these 5 principles today.
Well, Chet, I love this part, and I love how you did the introduction with me. Before everybody came online, Chad referred to my gray hair and all that, and I'm probably the dinosaur on this call. But why it's important is that if you envision yourself as an entrepreneur, and as I hold my fist up, if you've got your business solid, there is turmoil that goes on all around us every single day. And I've been doing this close to 40 years now. I've been through 4 different economic cycles. You can go all the way back to, and it's interesting as I listen to what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine right now. You can go all the way back to the 70s, and I can remember sitting in a pickup truck with my dad in a gas line, where we only were allowed to get gas on even days or odd days, and I remember my dad, and my dad was in the corporate world, and he was not panicked one bit. He says, look, I actually was born in the Depression, so as bad as you see it today, it's been worse. But there is all this smoke going on around each one of us that own business owners. We have to have the ability to stay focused. And even though we know that there's things going on around us that are disturbing and concerning, why this is so important is because it allows us to stay focused on our business and be confident in everything that we do. So when I talk about those 5 areas, if you've got those 5 foundational pieces buttoned up, I get, that there's gas issues. I get that there's labor issues. I get that there's inflation issues. I guarantee you, though, they will pass, just like they have the 4 times before. In kind of, in this world, if you think of economic cycles, they kind of occur in a 10-year time period. And so I've been a business owner, for these 40 years. And as each iteration comes, the mindset is what allows me to be able to pivot and adjust to what's going on. So because of the way that I have structured and built my businesses, is I wake up this morning, the gas prices are concerning, war is concerning, but I'm focused on my business. I'm focused on hiring today. I'm focused on marketing today. And I know that I can be razor focused on those, because the 5 areas I mentioned are completely buttoned up in my life. Starting actually, with the cash piece. Cash is king. And again, what I'm trying to do is I work with entrepreneurs through Wealth Factory, is I am trying to create economic independence. As a matter of fact, that's our mantra: economic independence for 1 million entrepreneurs. That's what we're trying to do. And so some of you may actually be in this case, or you may know somebody in this case where, as an entrepreneur, I painted kind of a glamorous picture of it early on, because I've been very blessed in the different silos that I've been involved with. But entrepreneurship is not for the faint-hearted at all. Those of you that are on this call and are listening are probably some of the loneliest people that you'll talk with today. But that's okay. We were all built to stand alone, based on what we've done with our businesses. And so I woke up with freedom this morning, knowing that even though the world is chaotic around me, if I know exactly what I'm trying to accomplish in my businesses, then I've checked that box of knowing what's important and what I need to be focused on that day. But if I'm waking up worried about those 5 areas of my life, I'm not going to get anything done. So what we do at Wealth Factory is we take an entrepreneur by the hand and we help walk them through those 5 areas that I mentioned: cash flow, taxes, insurance, investing, and estate planning, making sure that that's completely buttoned up so they can have complete freedom to operate and run their businesses at a high level.
No, that's great. And you talk about the entrepreneurship of not being for the faint of heart, and everyone on here listening is a small business owner. They really are. They may not think about it that way, like, I've had my medical practice forever, but yes, you're still a small business owner, right? It's you. And you have to take care of the taxes and the payroll and the hiring and everything else that goes on. It's there, and it's not for the faint of heart. And I love how you said that. I've been a serial entrepreneur for my entire career. My brother started out, we would work together, and within about the first year, he was like, you know what, I'm out. He's like, this is not for me. He literally had stomach ulcers. He's like, I can't handle this. And he's in the corporate world. He's done very well, but he found out very early on that that was not for him. And so I applaud him for knowing that and getting out of that. But for those us that are in it, it's there. So, thinking about everything that you do with Wealth Factory, when you first meet with people, how do they typically frame what they want the most when they meet with you, and how do you help guide them?
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Chad. Just because I know you work with a lot of different industries, and and we have very similar avatars. We have a lot of dentists in our program, a lot of alternative medicine, chiropractic, ophthalmologists, and is as well as veterinarians, and we even work with attorneys and accountants as clients, and that's a part of the service that we educate on. But Chad, I tell a lot of people that when we meet an entrepreneur and they show an interest in our program, what I sell more than anything is hope. Because a lot of the times when I meet an entrepreneur, they're just desperate for encouragement. They're just desperate for a revision in mindset, for a different way to approach their business. But at the end of the day, as I started out, what's more important than anything else is seeking that economic independence. So where I'm at in my career and the ownership of my businesses, I'm starting to, to see the light open up, to see a pathway to economic independence that, like I don't ever anticipate being at the level at like a Warren Buffett or something like that, but that's okay. I don't need to be. What I need is economic independence that gets me exactly to where I want to be. And where I want to be is spending more time with my grandchildren, with my family, with hobbies. And frankly, I don't ever anticipate a time when I don't own a business. It's where a dollar gives me the best possible return for me. So every entrepreneur that we meet, very high on the list, they may bring us several problems they want to address, but very high on the list, really what they're asking for is economic independence. How do I get from where I'm at today to where I don't have to worry about it anymore? Guide me there. Help me get to that place. So that's the number one thing, Chad, that they're looking for when they meet us. And they, and a lot of times they don't realize how many holes they have in their bucket in those 5 areas. But that's my job, to work them through that. Really, what they're looking for is as much financial independence as they can possibly get.
What's the biggest blind spot, Norm, when it comes to that financial independence that you really need to help guide them on?
We are very good at the nuts and bolts piece. We in those 5 areas, we go into a lot of detail, a lot of deep dive, with the clients. But I'll tell you, Chad, the number one change is actually mindset. It's teaching them how to fly at 30,000 feet instead of being stuck at 1,000 feet where all the turbulence is. Turbulence doesn't go away, it exists. And as we fly up from the airport, we go through it. As we come back down, we go through it. But the objective is to reach a sweet spot where not only is it a smooth ride, but we can see everything going on around us. So the challenge that I have, and I do work directly with clients. As a matter of fact, after we do this webinar today, I have one quick meeting, and then I'll go into an extensive coaching session with a client. And although as much as I enjoy all the nuts and bolts, because that's where my training's at, most of the time I'm working with entrepreneurs on mindset. I'm helping them see that, that what is immediately in front of them doesn't necessarily have to dictate what happens today, but what I'm preaching is the gospel of meaningful mindset. That you have to be, and I equate it, I'm very much in tune with my health and fitness, as I know is, that you are, and we've chatted a little bit about that. That's the best analogy because everybody can relate to that. And so when an individual is on a journey where they absolutely are saying, hey, I want to get razor focused on my health. I want to be fit. I want to be ripped. I want to be, I want to feel good. I want to act good. I want to look good. Well, what that means is for those that achieve that level, it means that every single thing they think about, everything that they put in their mouth that they eat, everything that they drink, every movement, as they plan out their day, as they plan out their menu, everything that surrounds that is based on the success. Everything around the success of that is based on being mindful about what they do in their health and fitness. And I'll add on there, that the best, most committed people are, they're willing to pay for it. They write a check and they get a trainer or they get somebody to work with that. And that's exactly what I'm doing with an entrepreneur. So typically, when I go through those 5 areas, and in general, that's kind of the order that things fall. The very first thing people out of the gate do is go, oh, I don't have enough cash. It never seems like I have enough cash, in my business, and some businesses are more cash hungry than others, but it's about being mindful about every single dollar that comes in and every single dollar that comes out. People, when we start working with people on their cash flow and helping them identify expenses and helping them identify how they can have savings that can get them towards economic independence, it's like a light went on. Like it's very basic things, but they just need to be reminded, about good stewardship, about what's being practical, and I want to be careful here at this point too, because, this isn't a lot of conversation about don't spend money on that. It's not that at all. It's making the best decision about where you actually spend your money, and right at the top of the list, and I'm being a little facetious, but it's true, as you work on your fitness program, if you work with a nutritionist and you go, hey, I want to lose several pounds, or I want to get my body fat to this, or my body mass index to this, right at the top of the list, the nutritionist goes, hey, I got a great idea, eat less. Okay, and maybe without getting into details or macros, eat less. And it's the same thing with economic independence. I've got an idea, try spending less. And that doesn't mean that in my fitness program, it doesn't mean that I have little enjoyment over, like I don't feel like I'm sledding myself of anything. It's just that I'm way more strategic about what I eat and how I eat it. And it's the same thing about having $1 in your bank account. How did it get in there? What am I spending it on? And how can I get that dollar working for me in my business to achieve economic independence?
That's excuse me. It's perfect, right? I mean, there's so many times that as business owners, we sometimes just get so busy in the business that we take our eye off the ball, that most important element of that cash flow, of what's coming in and what's going out, and where is it going in between there. I like part of what you said also of your job is to help them with their mindset. You're coaching them along. There's a quote from Elon Musk that says that if you're looking for words of encouragement, don't become an entrepreneur. And while maybe true to a degree, it is great to have a coach, right? Someone who is on your side, someone that can be there to hold your hand a little bit. Maybe sometimes it's that accountability partner that that can call you out on things, and in a way that you relate to, that you know that is on your side, but isn't going to let you get away with almost BSing yourself. And so as you get into this and you're really honest about where am I spending my money, if I really want this, where is it going to come from? And I like what you said, you don't have to always go without, but maybe you do cut back on some things that are superfluous, right? And
Yeah.
until we get things under control and kind of figure out what that plan is. So in talking about this cash flow and this process and kind of recovering this cash flow within a practice, what's the most important thing they need to know about their process today?
Well, the biggest thing is understanding your model at the highest level and keeping it simple. So kind of a spin-off to this outline, which is very important, and this is actually a part of the coaching call that I'll be doing this afternoon, is I find it very helpful to walk people through, and everybody listening here today, we have 4 things in common with all our businesses: product, process, people, and profits. And making sure that you are embracing those with your business is extremely important. So number one, starting, if you kind of think of it, like a clock, starting at the top, what's our product? What is it that we have to sell? So in some cases it may be dentistry, and that's fine. I've been involved with dental practices, and I will always have this mantra with people: keep it simple, stupid. The whole KISS principle is so significant. I get into dental practices, for example, and if you look at the revenue line items, the fee line items, they will be selling things that they have no business selling. Are you in the dentistry business? Are you in the cosmetic business? And I get that there's margins there, but having a product is all about scaling. And we do a lot here to help people scale and understand their product and their business. The second thing is process. So if you have a product, you have to create a process to efficiently sell that, which is this whole concept around scaling, doing the same thing over and over and over again. So when I get into analyzing the cash flow for a lot of people, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have any idea where the cash goes. Well, where the cash is going a lot of times is into a product line that's actually not profitable. Like, they're dumping money into it because they think it's a good idea, but they don't even realize that they're not making money, on that. And I've gone into some dental practices, for example, and I have sliced out a third of the revenue lines, because they're actually offering something that what the insurance is covering actually doesn't even make it profitable for them, but they don't even realize it because they haven't run the numbers. It's a better decision not to offer that product at all, have fewer products that have some kind of margin in them. Thirdly is people. I share with I mentioned how I've been through several iterations and several economies, and each one brings something different. Each thing brings something new. We're in a very, very unique situation right now where people are a premium. Where do we find labor? And once we find that labor, how do we manage them? So, as you can see, I'm the dinosaur here, and my biggest challenge is managing millennials. Like, I don't get it. I'm terrible at it. I am very judgmental, but that's my workforce. So my solution was, the best way to manage a millennial is to hire a millennial. So it's staying razor focused, and so it's just a different world now. I have to I have to, figure out how I'm going to pay these people, the ones that insist on working remote. How does that work? And so it's being razor focused every day on my product, my process, the people, and then lastly is profits. And that's where we really get into the mindset with people here too. Is unfortunately, and this is sad, we work with entrepreneurs that they're putting on a good front, but they're actually not profitable. They're not making money at all. Well, that is not a path to economic independence. So sometimes we actually end up doing a whole major overhaul, both on mindset and on the business, because there's a name, for companies that don't have any profit, and it's called a nonprofit. I'm not particularly interested in that, because I'm on this course for economic independence. So the very first thing is understanding your business, being committed to that, and being razor focused on that. As when you wake up in the morning. But that third piece, I cannot emphasize the more. I cannot emphasize more than anything else. If you are not on track to find people that can do what you do, that can replace what you're doing, you will never have the financial economic independence you want. Now, you may have several $1 million in the bank, but if you're working 20 hours a day to accomplish that, what have you gained? What have you gained? So paying very, very close attention to the people part of that whole process in your business is the most important thing on my radar right now, as it should be on everybody else's.
We go through the same things, Norm. I'm really glad you mentioned those, and I took notes on those four items. There's times even in our own business, right? We've had to pivot, and we've had different products, and you think this is great, and you start to dig into the details, realize that actually doesn't make us any money, and it costs us. And at that point, we have a decision: is it worth keeping? Is it a loss leader because it might bring us some benefit, or is it really just superfluous? And we've had both. We've had times where we've actually cut something because it really was taking away from our business. Other times where we kept it for a time, or we figured out a way to make it profitable. But the second part for us leads a lot into the third, because what we have found, and I'm just trying to add to what you're saying, is you can have good people, but we've found that there's sometimes we have a little saying that there's not bad people, there's bad processes. And if you have a bad process in your practice that doesn't allow for individuals to be successful, and I'm talking about training, right? How do they answer the phones? How do you have consistency? How do they treat your customers when they come in? And if you don't have a set standard of process of how do you treat every lead that comes in, how do they respond to them, how do they act within your electronic medical record system or your practice management system, and make sure that everything's consistent, then you might actually be blaming your people when the people aren't the problem. It's your process is a problem. And so be careful that you're not judging your employees on the fact that you have bad processes and bad training and bad execution of those, because that might actually, the problem might be you and the way that you're treating them or not treating them. So anyway, it's a good awareness of that, but the people are so critical today. And I've sometimes found that we're going to hire great people, even if they don't have the full skill set, because if they're willing to work hard, they know how to set goals, they have the right mindset, they have effort, we want to keep those people, and we're going to train them up. And if we've invested time, we don't want to lose them. And it's a tricky balance today. So I'm with you. We're figuring things out as well. So thank you for talking about those. So if I'm a small practice today and I'm thinking about these ideas of cash flow, economic independence, what would you identify really? What can create the greatest problems for any of these other practices at this point? What else should they be aware of?
Well, as it relates to the 5 areas that I talked about, Chad, first of all, if any of us in our businesses, if we run ourselves out of cash, then it's all over. Cash is king. and and it would be wonderful, not to be beholden to that, but that's that's the way it is, so it's number one, is making sure that you're always in a position where you're planning from a cash standpoint and being prepared for whatever might come up or what might occur today. Secondly, as it relates to taxes, so cash flow and then taxes, when an individual comes to us and express interest, an entrepreneur in being a part of our business, and just to be clear, we solve a lot of problems for entrepreneurs. I'm just not in the problem solving business. So I, if we have an entrepreneur come to us and say, oh my gosh, I've got a letter I'm holding in my hand, a $50,000 obligation from the IRS, they're going to levy, my account and all this. Actually, I feel very, very bad for that entrepreneur. I typically will pass on working with them, because for two reasons. Number one, that problem was created by a pattern. It didn't happen overnight, and so it's a measurement of how willing are you to fix that problem. And then secondly, we find with clients that if they come to us with a great problem like taxes, once we fix the problem, they just go away. They don't want to be my client anymore. I'm looking for long-term relationships where people are committed to fixing those 5 foundational areas in their life. But what a lot of people don't realize on the tax piece is yes, number one, don't get yourself into crossways with the IRS. And we teach a lot of principles around cash flow management, reserving for taxes, and being in a position, where you're not beholden to the IRS. But it's a much, but that's at the 1,000-foot level. That's a 1,000-foot problem. At the 30,000-foot level, we're teaching entrepreneurs how to reserve, how to plan, how to make sure that they never get caught in that, in that situation again. And then, then as it relates to insurances, insurances are such a small cost, and nobody likes writing that premium check, whether it's for their life insurance or their disability insurance or their auto insurance. But when you look at either your personal or your professional budget, that insurance cost represents like a very, very small amount of your cost. But the day you need that insurance, you're not going to regret it one bit. So we spend a lot of time walking people through the principles of the best types of insurance to have, on their auto, home, business and casualty, umbrella liability, but probably one of the things that people are the most suspicious of, and rightly so, is life insurance. And that human life value proposition, but that in itself is one of the most underutilized leverages, for an entrepreneur that exists out there. And I'll share a little bit, when I conclude going through this part, I'll give a great story of something I'm going through right this minute, that because of the cash position I put myself in, I can be able to take advantage of that. Next, as it relates to investing, and just to be clear, I don't invest money for people. We don't do that. That's a very individualized and personalized thing. Because I'm working with entrepreneurs, the very best investment, and I'll use your name, Chad, because you're right there with me. Your very best investment, Chad, is in your business. Like, I guarantee you, if you had $1 and you put that in the market today, which is not in a good situation, because of everything that's going on, but so that's volatile. whether it's, whether you're in cash or crypto, an ETF or whatever. But I guarantee you, because we've talked about this as friends, that you put $1 into your business and you know exactly what your return on that dollar is going to be. But yet I talk with entrepreneurs like Dennis, for example. They're in all kinds of investments. Things, and typically patients or family members will sell them into a wine investment or a stock investment or something. They don't even know what they have, or worse, they don't even know what the cost of that investment is. In 3 areas. Number 1, what fees are they paying? Number 2, if they're even making money or losing money on it. But third, and this is the tragedy, the opportunity cost. That if they've got $100,000 tied up in some investment that they don't want to get out of, but if they had that $100,000 that they put into mindful marketing in their practice, then one patient pays for that whole thing on a care plan, and then lastly is estate planning. That kind of brings it all together. So if you've got your cash, your insurances, you're investing, all completely, completely buttoned up. What the estate plan does is allows you to sleep at night knowing that everything that I've done, everything I've worked for, if something happens to me today, that can trigger an event that is a blessing for my family instead of a total train wreck. For the family, so it's just convincing the entrepreneur this is what you need to be focused on every day, and starting with cash at the top of the list.
Norm, we're talking about all these principles at a very high level, which is all we have time for today. We're hopefully in the future we'll be able to spend more time on each of these 5 principles. We've got these small business owners on today, and they're listening intently. They're probably taking some copious notes and saying, boy, I need some help in some of these areas. Maybe some of them they're doing well and thinking about that. If you want them to think about one thing today about being mindful throughout this process, and I think you've hit upon, I think I know what your answer is going to be, but what would you like them to take 30 seconds and do right now and write down?
They need to decide what they want. So by that I mean, so the life that I've created for myself right now, I talk about with everybody, and your listeners are, for good or for bad, they're gonna have to hear the story, because it's very, very important. Decide what you want and then create the path to get from point A to point B. So as I shared earlier, what's important to me, so I'm 60 years old now, and and I feel like I'm just at my halfway point. But as I go into the next 10 years, for example, my oldest grandchild is 6 years old. My youngest grandchild is 6 months old. I want to be a part of their lives. I want to see them grow up. I want to contribute to their education, to their benefit. So I know that's what I want, and I know my businesses are going to help me get there. So I would encourage any entrepreneur, decide what is most important to you, and decide how your business can get you there. And then as we start working with clients, we help them to map that out. We design, what that path looks like and what it's structured. So for me to get from entrepreneurism to where a week from Saturday, because it's right on my calendar, by 12 o'clock in the afternoon in Birmingham, Alabama, I'll have 4 little grandkids just all over me, but how I designed my business has given me the ability to do that, and I am totally fine. One of the things that has kind of changed, Chad, over time, and this is where where the dental profession needs to understand, kind of the frenzy of buying practices at an overpriced rate. Those days are gone. They're just, the DSOs rolling up, and acquiring practices. It just isn't going to happen like it used to. And so the whole idea of an exit maybe isn't as realistic anymore. But I don't really care for me. As long as I'm happy in my business, it should make a difference, because that's what's creating the lifestyle that I want. So we meet so many entrepreneurs, they don't know what they want. Every day they're like, they go, I want to survive. Teach me how to survive. And I'm like, no. You got to think bigger than that. You got to be, more intentional, about what you want, and then I can help you get from point A to point B.
Thank you. And let me, for our audience today, let me give you a little background here as well. I've been with MyAdvice, my partner Sean and we merged our businesses together 8 years ago, but I've been consulting small businesses for over 20 years now, on the medical, dental, legal side. And there's been a couple of consistent themes throughout that time. I've been asked over and over again, how do I value my business? How do I make more money? And how do I run this? They're like, Chad, they don't teach us business in medical school or dental school or even in the legal side. And so common themes, and so as we met Norm and Wealth Factory, we thought this fits because our audience needs help. And it's not something that we do. It's very complementary to what we offer at Advice Media with MyAdvice. We're trying to help you be successful. We see ourselves as giving you freedom by being your partner and helping generate more leads at the top of your sales funnel. That's one part of the equation. But once they've come in and you've converted them and you're running your business, how do you be successful? How do you make sure that you're financially set, whether you're single or married or you have a family? All your circumstances are different, but we want you to be successful. And if we can help you be successful personally, we know you're going to be successful with your business. And that's why we brought a great partner in like Wealth Factory to say, look, we've vetted out this group. We feel that this is an amazing organization that can help you. And there's no obligation, but Norm, for our audience today, tell them a little bit more about what you do and how you could help them and sort of the next steps.
Well, Chad, this is my secret sauce, and the beautiful thing about our product is that it's nobody's going to duplicate it, because it's sort of like my analogy with fitness. There's more information out there than there's ever been before about how to be physically fit, but obesity is at its highest level than we've ever seen. So here's my secret sauce. We talked about people earlier, and I have a great team. I have a great staff. I love and appreciate every single one of them. But in those 5 areas, cash flow, taxes, insurance, investing, and estate planning, we bring alongside of us partners in a referral relationship. So I don't want to represent that I'm certified in public accounting, and I don't want to represent that I know everything there is to know about taxes, but I have a network of people that know exactly what that is. We provide the education, and then I have a network of technicians that if our clients want to use them, that's great. If they don't want to use them, that's totally fine too. But the key is that they provide the technical expertise. All my cash flow analysts are internal, because that's a very, very important piece to this whole thing. But we have accounting firms, we have law firms, we have registered investment advisors and we have insurance agencies that walk people through implementation if that's what they want to do. So my secret sauce, Chad, is actually the connection, and that's where everybody needs to realize that's essentially my relationship with MyAdvice, that even though they don't fit in one of those 5 areas, they are a referral partner for a very, very important piece, and that's website marketing and SEO. It's just because if we're not filling the top of our funnel with leads, then nothing's going to happen at all. So if an individual, an entrepreneur, just is interested in help of this nature, we would love to have a conversation with them. We've provided a URL. Wealth Factory /MyAdvice, MyAdvice, VCE, that that if an individual wants to go there, fill out a couple things, have a conversation with us, we're more than happy to do that. But this isn't this isn't necessarily the pitch, if you will. This is simply a value add, because when an individual talks with us, has a question about what we do, 100% of the time, they walk away from the call. Even if they decide not to do business with me, they come away from the call with at least one idea of how they can be helped in those 5 areas. And so if I've just done this one small thing to help move somebody towards economic independence, then I've done my job today, whether they actually decide to be a client or not.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Norm. And I put the link right up here on the screen so everyone can see that. And this is your chance to speak with an advisor and see if it's a fit or not. wealthfactory.com/myadvice. Normally, the question that's come in is in regards to one of the principles you talked about, which was the 4 Ps, is people. And when it comes to people, this is obviously hiring right now has certainly been a challenge, but the question is, with rising costs and inflation and wages going up, Target just said they're going to start like $24 an hour for a lot of their employees. How do these small businesses keep up with those rising costs for employees today, and still stay relevant?
Well, loved how you framed that, because I still have angst over the one sentence that jumped out at me last week, and I don't have to go into detail of where I heard that, but when somebody says don't increase cost, increased wages, what are we talking about? As entrepreneurs, 70% of my cost is wages. It's unavoidable. Inflation is here for the moment, and so that's where I stress for the moment. Everything passes. So stay the course, stay focused on surviving. Yes, there are costs rising, but everything balances out. Now, for the local place that makes my salad for lunch, I'm going to pay more for a salad. That just is the way it is. For my particular product, I'm going to hold. I'm going to, there's no reason for me to have a cost increase. I'm going to see what wages are going to cost me, and then I'll figure it out from there. But this is where having a war chest, working on your cash flow, if somebody costs $5 more an hour, there's this urgency. Oh, I need to charge this more for a treatment plan. Just see what happens. Let's see where this goes. My guess is the employment market, like everything else, is going to have a correction. So I'm fine paying a little bit more right now, but I have embraced my team members that hung with me through the pandemic, those that have been more than happy to come back into the office, since we were virtual. I'm investing in those people. I am more than happy to pay somebody more that hung in there with me, and I know they're going to be a long time. And in exchange for that, I'm asking for a little more effort, a little more time, a little more work as my offset until those right employees can come at the right price. And so as in my process, Chad, and you're probably doing the same thing, I've got about a half a dozen advertisements for employment that I never take down. We're in the recruiting business, and that's here to stay. And but they're out there. They're starting to come back. And we didn't really get into this, but one of the indicators that I know that they're going to come back is I'm curious about how these millennials are paying their bills right now. Well, there's a correlating factor here that if you look at how much short-term debt and credit is increasing, that's how they're paying their bills. They're going to have to pay those credit cards off at some point. So the workers will come back, I guarantee it.
Very true. Norm, thank you, and I appreciate our question as well. So it's
that's a great question.
and I like the way you phrase that too, Norm, in that you're happy to pay that increased wage right now, right? For a couple of reasons. One is it does it shows your appreciation. It's part of your culture. You want to retain those employees, especially that have contributed. But it's also an opportunity to reset expectations and explain, hey, we're going through this together. We're all struggling. Here's where we're at, and I can expect a little bit more. And I think they appreciate that because they feel welcome and they want to contribute to the success because they recognize with that increase, you're recognizing their work effort, but hey, we need a little bit more, that we're all in this together. And I think that's a great approach. So I like how you phrase that.
Yeah, well,
we're at the end of our time. Go ahead, Norm, finish, please.
No, and I would say it starts with me. So I had to have a major attitude adjustment, coming out of the pandemic based on how people behave, what they want to get paid, and all that. So I would encourage every entrepreneur, examine their heart, examine their mind, and just get over the current situation and get back to work.
Great advice, and thank you so much.
Yeah.
Norm, this has been tremendous, and I really appreciate it. And again, I mean, I could sit here seriously all day and just keep listening to you and get into these topics on a deeper level. And that's what we look forward to doing over the course of the year is diving in deeper to every one of these areas, these 5 areas you talked about. But for our audience today, again, thank you for attending. I invite you to talk to Norm and his team, wealthfactory.com/myadvice. It's an opportunity for you to see where you're at and get an evaluation and see whether or not there's a fit and how they can help you individually and with your business grow and set things up on a proper level. But having a coach along the way that can help you do that is critical. So we want you to be successful and we want to be part of that journey for you. So again, Norm, thank you very much. What a pleasure.
Yeah.
And we will talk to you soon. To our audience, thank you. You'll get a recording of this sent to you in the next 24 hours.
Thank you all for attending.
Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Bye.